Anyhow, let's get back to the topic here of staying cool. Okay, so we know that trying to put a portable shade on top of the roof sort of works, but the only way it'll work is if you cover up the entire vehicle. And I think that even applies to covering up the hood, covering up everything, which means it's not really practical. Not unless you carry around a portable garage or a portable tarp that goes over the entire vehicle. So that won't work. Now, if you're actually parked somewhere, like on in the middle of the boonies, then you could take a tarp or something, or even cloth, and cover up your entire vehicle to keep the sun from shining on it. In other words, you're making your own shade to cover up everything. That will help with temperature control. The other big thing that can help control temperature are these sunshades to block the sun from coming in the first place, and window treatment. These are they're like thermal curtains, so I can feel the heat. I can feel the heat on this thing. Okay, so it's like a barrier and it'll block the heat. So it won't completely keep the heat out, but it'll actually help with controlling the temperature. So having curtains help, but this isn't like regular curtains. See how it's got two layers? It's got this big kind of plasticky side, kind of like vinylized or whatever, I don't know, plastic vinyl. And the other side is cloth, and it's fairly thick. So it's designed to block the sun and the heat, okay? And that helps a lot with controlling temperature. So you want those blocking the windows. In my case, I don't know if you can see that window there. It has cork right there, cork board. I put that over the window, and that will serve to block the sun and the heat. So essentially, the less windows you have, the better. Because windows allow heat to transfer in, and then your vehicle becomes like an oven, and it continues to retain the heat and get hotter and hotter. The problem is this, though. If you have no windows at all, and you have no venting, whatever heat does get in, stays in, and is trapped and gets hotter and hotter. So what you want to do is have the ability to vent. Given a choice between a van with no windows and one with windows, I prefer one with windows, especially windows like these that open so I can vent it out. I've never had any problems with condensation and mold and whatnot, probably because I'm in Florida and I can do this. You know, I can constantly open and air out the vehicle. Now, you can see that while we've been talking, the temperature now says 86 degrees. So I'm pretty sure my thermometer is still working. It says 86 degrees. The ambient temperature right now is about 78 or so degrees out here. So I'm still 8 degrees hotter than the outside temperature. So inside my van is 8 degrees hotter. And that's because the heat from the roof and everything is still radiating down here. And it's taking a while for all the heat to be blown out, okay? Because I just parked and let the system blow out. So, fans are very important. Having a battery pack that can run your fan all night, even more important, okay? That's the main thing you can use for staying cool when you're trying to sleep. The second thing that is actually pretty simple to use is this. This is a water dispenser, a sprayer. Now, I got this from Walmart, but notice it says ironing spray bottle. They also have one that they sell for cleaning, the cleaning section. Don't get the cleaning one. That one sucks because I had one and it fell apart. If you're going to get one of these from Walmart, get the one that says ironing spray bottle. And you get this in the section for the kind of like the closet hanging ironing area where they have the clothespin and stuff like that. It's about the same price. It's about $1 for this thing, 97 cents or something like that. And this one is actually pretty sturdy and has lasted for a while. And all I do is I just put water in it and you spray it. See the mist of water coming out there? You basically mist yourself. If you get really hot, you spray some water on your arms and body and you rub it so your whole body is wet, and the fan will blow on you and actually evaporate the water. And when it does that, it has a cooling effect on you and works really well. You don't want to spray yourself so you're soaking wet and then you're laying here all wet, okay? But you can spray yourself a little bit and let the fan blow on you, and it'll evaporate the water. If you spray yourself and you don't have a fan blowing on you, it'll still work, but it takes longer to evaporate. The whole idea is to wet your skin down as if you were sweating almost. And the fan will blow on it and cause the water to evaporate. And when it does, it pulls the heat off your body. And that has a really good cooling effect. The other thing that I can recommend is psychologically, okay? If you have a ice cooler or some other way of storing cold things, you don't need anything fancy or anything. I have a 12-volt cooler unit that can be turned on. It plugs into a cigarette lighter and it comes on when the vehicle's driving. Or I could hook it up to a power source battery, house battery, but I don't do that because my house battery would not run this very long. I'll run it all night. But you carry a cup and you go into a restaurant like McDonald's or something, or a gas station, and you get a cup of ice. Now the ice can serve to keep your food cold for the day, but you can also pull the ice out and get a cup of ice and some water or some cold drink. So having a cold drink to drink when you're feeling hot has a psychological effect. I mean, it does physically cool you down because you're drinking something cold, but it gives you a psychological effect that you're not like roasting and dying of heat. So when you're getting a little bit hot, feeling a little hot, drinking a little bit of cold juice or cold water, with ice in it, psychologically makes you feel like you're not hot. And let me think, what else? Oh, one more thing. Some of you have probably contemplated getting like little air conditioner units and stuff like that. Several things you need to know. One, a real air conditioning unit is not really practical to run inside a van because it takes too much power. A real unit, the way a real air conditioning unit works, it pulls moisture out of the air to dry the air. And when it dries the air cools down. And what it does is it blows the heat out the rear of the air conditioning unit, and you get water condensation coming out from the process, and that water has to drip out. So to use a real air conditioning unit, you have to install it in such a way that the cold side blows air in, but the hot side blows it outside of your vehicle, which is possible if you design your vehicle correctly, and I might do that in a future van build. But for most van users, that's not really practical, okay? And the other reason it's not practical is to run an air conditioning unit requires a lot of power. And some people who don't know, they think that, well, you could get a house battery system that will run that. You would need a house battery system that's almost the size of your whole van to run an AC unit all night. It goes through power so fast, okay? So the only real way, practical way to run an air conditioning unit is to, number one, run it off shore power. So if you're parked at an RV park or at a friend's house and you have access to 120 volts or 115 volts, whatever it is, 110, 120 volts, you can run a power line from the house or the wall, what we call shore power from land, into your vehicle and plug your AC unit in. You want to make sure that the cable that you use to run the power from the house or from the plug to your AC unit is thick, like really super, super thick, because when you pull that much power off it, when you're drawing that much power to run the AC all night, it gets really hot and it can melt and catch on fire if you use a thin one. Use an extremely thick one, preferably one that's rated for the amount of amps or the draw that the AC will pull out. That would be the best way to run the air conditioner because you get silent use of the electricity. What I mean by that is the electricity comes from a house or shore power, either an RV park or something, and comes right into the air conditioner and works just as if you had it in your house installed in a window. The only noise you're going to hear is from the air conditioner. Okay? Now, the second way that you can do it is to run a generator. So you have a gasoline-powered generator hooked up to your air conditioner, and you put gasoline into the generator, and you start it up, and that generates electricity. And you use that electricity to run the air conditioner that you got hooked up to it. The problem with that, obviously, is that one, you know, for the AC to run, you've got to have the generator running, and that makes a lot of noise typically. Some people say that the Honda generators are pretty quiet, but I don't know. I haven't seen one up close or heard one up close. I think that having to run a generator to run air conditioning, like when you're trying to sleep or something, is counterproductive because you're making all this noise while you're trying to cool down and go to sleep or chill. So that is an option that exists that you can use if you're out in the boonies, but if you're stealth camping in a city, it's not really practical. Now, I've seen people run generators at Walmart parking lots, and they are incredibly loud. I think it's extremely rude to run a generator to run your air conditioning system when you're parked at Walmart, because you're disturbing everybody at the parking lot. So I don't really recommend that unless you're out in the middle of nowhere. But using that option, you're going to need gasoline to keep the generator running and to keep your system going. Now, you could conceivably run the generator to generate electricity to charge up your house battery system, which is what you run the air conditioner off. So that's another way to do it. Instead of running the air conditioner directly off the generator, you're actually using the generator to charge up the house battery, and then you're using the house battery to run the air conditioning system. To me, that would seem like the best way to go if you can get a small generator that can charge the house battery fast enough. But air conditioning and things like that, even refrigerators, they use a lot of power. So my best advice, learn to sleep with just the fan, because that's what I did and it worked fine. I also had the water bottle, which I used a couple times but didn't really need to. Having the fan, and I sleep in shorts and a little t-shirt, and that's pretty much it. So I think I pretty much covered it all. That's pretty much it. Oh, one more thing that I'll talk about is swamp coolers. Initially, when I started Little Blue 2, I had one of those home-built, what they call air conditioning units, but what they are really is a swamp cooler, evaporative cooler, I guess. And what you do basically is you have a container, a sealed container that you put some ice or ice water in, and you put a fan that blows across that ice and ice water, or just the ice itself, and then of course the ice will melt and become water, so it's ice water. But what it does is when the fan blows across the ice, the heat or the air, the heat in the air is replaced by the cold from the ice, and it blows the cold, wet, icy air at you. Now, some people claim that it doesn't work, but I for a fact know that it works even in Florida because I used it and it did work. The problem you're going to run into with that, though, is twofold. One, you need ice to run it. Okay, you can run it with water, but it's not as effective with just water alone. You pretty much need ice. So you need a lot of ice, probably about 5 or 10 gallons of ice per day. That might not seem like a lot, but that's like about $1 or $2 worth of ice every day. The second thing, which I think is more problematic, is this. You need a lot of space. Even a small unit was about the size of roughly 1 or 2 of these drawer units. Probably 2 of those drawer units. So you can see my van. This is a minivan, and even if I had a full-size van, that is quite a bit of space. It's almost the amount of space you would need for a full-size air conditioning unit. Now, if that's worth it to you to give up that much space for an air conditioning unit, you can use one of those. But truly, even though it worked and it did make me feel cold, even at night I had to shut it off, I think just using a fan works just fine and is a lot simpler. Building one of those AC units, if you want to learn how, I think I have it in one of my old videos, or maybe I'll go ahead and build a new one just to show people how to do it from scratch. And while it's a nifty or cool little gadget you can build for yourself, or you can even buy one already made for you, they're not as effective as you would think they would be. Like, they don't really cool the way an air conditioning unit does, which means an air conditioning unit actually pulls water from the air and cools the air down. One of those swamp coolers, evaporative coolers, they don't pull moisture from the air. They actually add moisture to the air by using cold air, cold from the ice, and then blowing that cold, wet air at you. So it causes you to feel cool, but it doesn't work the same way, and the ice will eventually run out. And if you have to buy ice every day at roughly like $2 a bag, that's like $60 a month just to run that thing at night. And you got to deal with it taking up so much space and stuff. So I would not really recommend that, just because it's expensive, and also it's big and bulky, and you don't really need it. If you can learn to sleep with the fan in shorts and a t-shirt or whatever, and use water here as needed, that's the best solution, I think. If you need air conditioning, if you must have air conditioning for whatever reason, then I recommend installing a real air conditioning unit. Either an overhead unit that's normally used for RVs. You might be able to find them new. They would be very expensive. I think about at least $400 or $500 new. But if you get a used unit, like from a scrapyard or something off an old RV, you might be able to pick it up for $100 or less. And you'd have to cut a hole in your roof and put it in. Now me, if I build a new van, which I plan to in the future, I'm going to use a regular house one. I'm going to get a cheap little one for about $100, and I'm going to rig it so that it can go into the rear window, the rear side, or one of the side doors, and rig it so that it can actually be hidden. I'm going to try to do it in a way so that it's stealth. And it would be intended to run either off a generator, which is a backup system that I don't really want to use. The primary use for it would be to run it when I'm parked somewhere where I have access to shore power, like at a friend's house. If I park in their driveway, just run a cable, then I can run the AC all night. The idea is to build the design so that it's stealth. The vehicle stays stealth, but when you are parked and you want to run the AC unit, it's obviously not going to look stealth anymore because you're going to have the AC sticking out. But the AC normally is hidden or looks normal, doesn't look like a big AC unit. But that can be done, and it would allow you to cool your van down just like you would a room or a house. But like I said, the simplest solution, a fan and water, is probably the best. So until next time, everybody, I hope you stay cool. And if you'll notice now, my temperature says 82 degrees. In the time that we've been talking, my van has cooled down just because I have it open. And my vehicle, it's dark color. So it's down to 82 degrees. I told you the ambient temperature here is roughly 78 or so. Eventually, if I leave everything open, I think the interior here will cool down to roughly about 78 to 80 degrees. It'll be about the same as the outside ambient temperature. So the simplest solution, i.e. opening up everything, all your windows and whatnot, is the best. If you have a cargo van or something without windows and doors that can open like this, what you're going to want to do is create vents. If you know that hot air rises, then you know that the hot air is going to go towards the ceiling. So what you want to do is install vents in the ceiling. They have a fan called like a fantastic fan, which is an electrical fan that you can cut a hole in your roof and have the air sucked out. You can do that. And I would recommend installing that if you have you don't have the ability to open your windows like I do right now. I really like this Grand Caravan and other vans that have the doors where you can open on both sides, because as you can see, everything's open right now. And if I were just chilling in here right now, this is actually very, very nice and very comfortable. If I leave these window curtains, if I open them up a little bit more, it may get a little bit hot, because what would happen is the sun would come through the glass and start to heat the place up like a greenhouse. But by having the windows blocked off, it stays cool. Even having this spot right here where the the door is open, believe it or not, this sleeping bag here is warm because the sun is heating it up and collecting heat. What I would do in that case, if I were parked like this somewhere where I could, like not out here obviously, but if I'm out in the middle of nowhere, I would take my tarp or whatever and make a little canopy out here, or even just a piece of cloth and cover it out here to cover this spot and give it shade, because shade will keep you cool. keep your whole vehicle cool. So I think that's about it. Until next time, everybody, I hope you have a fantastic day and that you found this video helpful for staying cool.